Put 10 dull-looking rocks on the ground. One of them could become a knife, a nail, or even part of a bridge. Which one do you burn? Without geology or chemistry, most of us would just be guessing. The rock doesn't look metallic. The iron inside it is chemically bound up in minerals, and a simple fire isn't going to magically melt out a blade. And yet, ancient metal workers learned which ores to choose, how to crush them, pack them with charcoal, force air into a furnace, and then pull out a spongy iron-rich mass they could hammer into shape. No periodic table, no modern chemistry. They learned the recipe first, which leads to an even stranger question. How did this process become reliable before anyone could explain what the fire was actually doing? The first thing to get rid of is the idea that someone looked at a red rock and somehow saw iron hiding inside it. Most iron-bearing rocks don't look metallic at all. The iron is chemically bound to oxygen and other minerals. What you see is just stone. Red, brown, black, sometimes unusually heavy, but still stone. And there are thousands of rocks around you, so where would the clue even come from? One answer may have fallen from the sky. In Egypt, archaeologists found 9 tiny iron beads at Gerza, dating to around 3200 BCE. Chemical analysis showed that the metal came from a meteorite. It hadn't been smelted from ordinary ore. Someone had taken iron that arrived already in metallic form, hammered it into thin sheets, and then rolled those sheets into beads. That changes the problem. Humans could have known that iron existed as a workable metal before they knew how to extract it from ordinary rock. But knowing that a metal exists is not the same as knowing which rock can produce it. Imagine finding one rock that feels unusually heavy. Another leaves a different residue in the furnace. Another keeps producing a strange lump when heated. You wouldn't need to understand why. You'd only need to notice that the same kind of material keeps behaving differently. That's where modern hindsight tricks us. We see reddish ore and think iron. They saw a rock that produced a result worth remembering. The strange part wasn't finding the stone. It was learning what the stone could do. And even that was still not enough. One strange result could disappear with the person who noticed it. Technology begins when someone else can make it happen again. Technology begins when a strange result stops being a one-time accident. Picture an ironworker beside a clay furnace with an apprentice watching. The lesson probably doesn't sound anything like chemistry. This ore, more charcoal, keep the air moving, wait, now hammer it. The surprising part is that those simple instructions can control a process the people using them couldn't explain in modern terms. Inside a bloomery furnace, the iron doesn't need to melt. Charcoal creates hot, reducing gases that remove oxygen from iron-bearing minerals. What comes out isn't a clean bar of metal. It's a dark, porous mass of metallic iron mixed with slag. A bloom. And the work's still not finished. While it's hot, the bloom has to be hammered again and again, squeezing out the slag and consolidating the iron into something usable. So an experienced worker had dozens of things to notice. Which ore produced a better bloom? How quickly the charcoal was added? How much air the furnace received? What the flame looked like? Whether the slag moved? Whether the final mass held together under the hammer? None of that required someone to know the phrase chemical reduction. It required memory. And that's where this stops being just a metallurgy story. Humans can preserve a useful procedure even when no single person understands every invisible reason behind it. Research on cumulative culture shows the same broader pattern. Performance can improve as information passes from one person to the next. Each person inherits something that already works, then preserves it or changes one part of it. That matters because failure is expensive. If an apprentice can copy a successful furnace run, they don't have to repeat every dead end that came before them. Culture remembers some of the mistakes for you. We still do this constantly. You can cook a reliable meal without understanding every reaction happening in the pan. You can drive a car while knowing almost nothing about combustion, metallurgy, or electronics. That isn't fake knowledge. It's a different kind of knowledge. Practical knowledge answers what works. Theory eventually answers why. And humans are unusually good at surviving in the space between those two questions. If something you use every day just came to mind, something you know how to operate but could never rebuild from raw materials, put its name in the comments. One word is enough, because that uncomfortable feeling is the point. Most of us only look smarter here because somebody already gave us the answer. Ancient metalworkers had answers too. They carried them in their hands instead of in equations. Learn what works first. Why can come later. But that creates another problem. If humans could already make iron, why did the world keep using bronze? This is where the usual invention story starts to fall apart. Ironworking existed before iron became dominant. Archaeological evidence points to limited extractive iron metallurgy in parts of Anatolia during the early 2nd millennium BCE. Widespread adoption came later. So there was no single moment when somebody discovered iron and civilization immediately switched materials. And early iron wasn't automatically better than good bronze. Poorly controlled iron could be soft. Bronze already had skilled craftspeople, workshops, trade routes, tools, prestige, and generations of experience behind it. That distinction matters. A technology can work and still lose. For iron to spread, it needed more than physics. It needed ore suppliers, charcoal makers, furnace builders, smelters, people who could recognize a good bloom, people who could teach the process, communities willing to replace systems they already trusted. That's why discovery and adoption are different events. Possible is not the same as normal. Now take the ancient furnace away for a second. Look around you. A screw, a kitchen knife, the steel hidden inside a building, the car outside. You know how to use those objects, but if every manual, factory, specialist, and supply chain disappeared tonight, how many of them could you recreate from stone, clay, ore, wood, and fire? Probably almost none. That sounds insulting until you realize ancient humans had the same advantage we do. Other humans. Knowledge could be divided. One person knew the ore, another understood the furnace, another learned the hammer. Another improved the process. The system could become smarter than any single person inside it. That may be one of the strangest things our species does. We don't just inherit genes, we inherit solved problems. Civilization can know more than any individual human. Now go back to the 10 rocks. One of them can eventually become iron. Could you identify it? Could you build the furnace, control the air, produce the bloom, hammer it into usable metal? Without instructions, most of us would be completely lost. And that changes the question. Maybe ancient humans didn't need one impossible genius who understood everything. One person noticed something, someone else remembered it, another repeated it, another changed it slightly. Then the knowledge survived the people who created it. Knowing how isn't the same as knowing why, and individual intelligence isn't the same as cultural intelligence. We live inside an inheritance so vast that most of it feels like our own intelligence. It isn't. If seeing humans from that angle makes ancient technology feel stranger instead of simpler, subscribe to Wildly Human. Because iron is only one example. How many things did humans learn to do long before anyone could explain what they were actually doing?